I think it's safe to say that food is fun, or rather it has become fun. Cooking shows in particular have become an absolute spectacle. And I think one reason why this is because food culture is a reflection of society's values. It's a reflection of what we like, who we are, and who we want to be. And cooking shows are just a physical manifestation of those values. Now, unfortunately, like most things that are part of a culture, food is horribly gendered, particularly the preparation aspect of it. I'd like to explore this idea a little bit through the vein of female-hosted cooking shows. Now, to begin to explore this phenomenon, we're going to have to go back about 90 years to 1923. When the first homemaking show aired on the radio.
Madame Allen, Madame Allen.
Dubbed the original domestic goddess, Ida Bailey Allen was a trained dietitian, cooking school instructor, and the author of over 50 cookbooks. Nonetheless, she was still a woman. And I think one of the reasons why she was so well-liked is because she absolutely epitomized what it meant to be a domestic housewife in the 20s. The notion of conventional homemaking as we know it was in full swing at this point, and adhering to this cult of domesticity was key if a woman was to be socially accepted. In fact, the bulk of her show wasn't about cooking. Cooking was regarded as only a piece in the larger puzzle of how to be a woman. Other pieces included things such as good manners, cleaning, and proper fashion. This close association of food with general housekeeping further emphasized the idea that food could be used to please or gain the attention of others. The Mary Lee Taylor program, which aired in the late 40s and early 50s, perfectly exemplified this attitude.
And it's a grand meal, too. The kind you'd be proud to serve even when your husband's new boss comes to dinner.
The show as a whole was perfectly scripted, with jokes, tricks, and tips always delivered on cue. Cooking and female chefs, then, were depicted as flawless and delicate.
And top each individual serving with a slice of cooked apple.
Okay. Top each juicy brown pork gem with a slice of tender cooked apple and bring them to the table with a smile on your face. Smile on your face. Smile on your face.
Like that. You can be very rough. I think a lot of people think you have to be delicate in cooking, but you don't.
These overly perfect and overly rehearsed performances made by female chefs in the past were completely chopped by Julia Child, probably one of the most well-known and well-respected female chefs to date. Her show, The French Chef, premiered in 1963 and lasted until 1973. And I think what was so great about Julia is that she made her cooking shows about food. Not about pleasing the neighbors, not about pleasing your husband, but really it was about pleasing yourself. Cooking became about you, the genderless you. As author Kathleen Collins writes, Child was arguably the first of her kind. She was one of the first to present a purely food-centered cooking show, as opposed to a homemaking show. And not to mention the fact that her shows were so raw. As Kathleen Collins writes, she was sloppy and folksy and exposed her blunders with whimsy. She put her hands in the poultry and plopped the innards on their countertop. She'd bone a chicken with a Band-Aid on her finger. She was genuine. She took fancy cooking down a notch to where we lived.
When you flip anything, you just have to have the courage of your convictions, particularly if it's sort of a loose mass like this. Well, that didn't go very well. Whew. That was a mistake.
And cooking is by no means easy. Julia knew that, and she wanted viewers to know that as well. Even more, she wanted viewers to embrace that.
This is one of this awful American syndrome of fear of failure. And if you're going to have a sense of fear of failure, you're just never going to learn how to cook, because cooking is, well, lots of it is one failure after another, and that's how you finally learn. For instance, you've got to have developed what the French call je m'en foutisme, or I don't care what happens, the sky can fall and omelets can go all over the stove. I'm going to learn. I shall overcome. It's sort of woman's liberation. And
now, as the years went on and the quality of television shows vastly improved, the world saw a boom in the entertainment and media industries, and cooking shows were no doubt impacted by this boom as well. In the past 20 years, we've seen almost a return to the 1930s idea of female cooking as a means of entertainment and a way to show off one's social status. You bake a delicious cake for your son's birthday party. You roast a flavorful chicken for a formal dinner party you're hosting. And once again, women are being fashioned as homemakers, as entertainers. And one female who I think exemplifies this is Ina Garten, otherwise known as the Barefoot Contessa. Ina's always cooking for someone, and usually it's her husband, Jeffrey.
I always worry that when I'm away, Jeffrey lives on milk and cookies. I have to be away tonight, so I thought I'm going to stock the fridge with all kinds of delicious things for him to eat. Jeffrey's always been enamored with boats. He actually daydreams about having one. My husband Jeffrey. My husband Jeffrey's so amazing. When my husband Jeffrey comes home for the weekend, I try and make lots of things in advance so I can spend time with him instead of spending time in the kitchen.
Now, in that last clip, cooking is being portrayed as a chore as opposed to a hobby. And of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with cooking for someone, but it just kind of seems like, once again, your role as a female chef is to cook for someone or something. And remember how I said that the old cooking radio shows were maybe a little too scripted, a little too perfect? Well, we almost have that again now, but this time we see it in video editing capabilities. Various cinematic techniques have once again masked the difficulty of actual cooking, and it presents female chefs as essentially infallible. There's never any mistakes, nothing ever goes wrong, and hip music will just start playing when you pour wet things in bowls to cover the unappealing splooshing sound.
Okay.
And lastly, I must mention the sexualization of many female chefs. Now, take a look at this. This is Nigella Lawson. She's a British chef, and notice how sultry and romantic the lighting is. Notice the fact that the camera is pretty much only focused on her face or her chest. There's almost no visual indication right now that you're watching anything that has to do with cooking. Oh, there's some food. Oh, that looks really good. Oh, never mind. So now we have a general understanding of how women have been represented in cooking shows throughout history. I think it's fascinating to consider how much some things have changed and how much other things have stayed the same. I don't exactly know where cooking shows will go from here, but I'm assuming they'll look something like this.